And there you have it. Marvellous. Bank holiday Monday, which means nothing in America if you're watching over there. But hello to everybody here. I'm Russ Kane. This is Men's Radio Station. And of course, this is The Daily Show. I'm wearing these because, look, God damn. I did another show this morning. Yeah, it gets me quite confused this morning. So I get there at 2 a.m. I start broadcasting at 3 a.m. I finish the broadcast at 4 a.m. And then I come home and have a cup of tea. And then I go back to bed. And it's like, look at this. I love this. You really look. I had that done in America. Isn't that sweet? I'm hoping you're having and it says on the other side, I'm going to try not to do what my cousin did and drop water everything. Sorry, I can't. I have plans with my dog. That's how I go through life. Right. We are rocking. We are rolling. You know her. You love her. It's only lovely to meet her, who has been, unfortunately, the bailiffs have come round. They've thrown her out of her house, and now she's just living in an alley.
This is not an alley.
Oh, no, you got a window behind you.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. Oh, look, your hair's all glam. What's going on?
Well, because I wasn't up at 3 a.m. on the radio, I have time to look.
You have time.
No, darling, I always look like this.
Well, you look very glamorous. You look very, very glamorous. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to hide it. There's a sort of a zhuzh. There's a whole zhuzh going on there. It's you don't do that because you know what'll happen. Paul Claridge, hopefully not getting beaten up outside East Croydon Station. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. The answer to that is no, but that's for another time. Linda, hello, Linda. Good afternoon, Miss. I was hoping to see Boy Wonder yesterday up in the Tower of Power, Murdoch Mansions, but no, he wasn't on duty. So my day was slightly less fabulous than I thought it would be. Seeing the lovely Phil. Look at this with the fan club coming straight in, looking gorgeous. Leslie says, "Paul,
oh, thank you.
You are so in there. Let's not kid ourselves. You are in there if you want it." Dave Sleep up in 5. Greetings, one and all. Good Lord, Paul Morris. Hello, Paul. A gay day. Well, if you say so, I don't care. Whatever you want. If it makes you happy, good luck to you. And Azadon Brown, good day from the States and Canada. He's so big. He's in 2 countries.
Is he striding the border?
Yeah, he stands there, one leg in Niagara Falls and one leg in whatever the thing. And now we go from Canada and the States over to Spain. Boy, busy. Oh, no, it's not Spain. I pressed the wrong button, idiot. Afternoon, folks. Happy spring bank holiday in the UK. Thank you, Ramsey. Now we go to Spain. Michael Verby. Morning, Russ.
Hola.
Hola. No, I think he's from Stanmore. He probably just goes, hola. Morning, Russ. I'm afraid the COVID has finally caught up with me here in sunny Spain. Oh, no. Well, that's a bummer. Anyway, chomping at the bit. You know him, ladies and gentlemen. You love him a lot. It's only Neil Long.
Hello.
Morning, Neil.
Good morning, and that's a very nice alleyway. You make a terrible estate agent, Russ. I would say beautifully appointed is the word phrase that I would use.
I'm going to take that as a huge compliment that I would make a shit estate agent. I think, thank God for that. That's what I say. Thank heavens, thank heavens. Robert Van Buren. Hello, Neil. He doesn't talk like that, but he has to with a fantastic name like that. And
hello, RVB.
Let's dash up.
Thank you for coming to the comedy last night, RVB.
Oh, did he go with you?
Yeah, he just turned up with a bunch of others, and I was like, oh, RVB's in the audience.
Okay. Did that make you more nervous or enjoyable?
Oh, it was a fun fiasco. It was one of those things where everything went wrong, and I had to think on my feet.
It was a fiasco. So, and then Sue Sleet up in 5. Happy bank holiday. Right, let's bring on our guest. This guy is, although I like to think of you as both my friends and my guests. Now, this guy is Paul. Oh, good God, Paul Endicott. Good morning from the alleyways of Richmond.
Doesn't have alleyways,
and you're getting greeted from New York State and Canada. Good day, Neil Long.
Greetings, Azadon Brown.
I hope Asa comes over to the UK. We could actually get to meet him, maybe do some shows with him. But it'd be nice to see him. Yeah. Right, ladies and gentlemen. Tony Demure.
Hello.
Hello,
Morning.
Tony. And there's somebody
Morning.
standing in the background staring at you. You know that they're in the back.
Ah, yes. I book her just
Is that
to make
security?
me look more
What is that?
popular with women.
Your security, or what is that? That is.
As my partner in Battersea.
Oh, and she's waving, in a sort of Elizabeth Green from Manhattan is saying, "I forgot it's Monday."
Munsey.
Munsey, which is like Monday, and she says, "Good morning." And Kerry Stoneman, hi, Russ and Nick,
Kerry.
and Leslie.
And no, I'm apparently chopped liver today.
Speaking of that, I'm going to speak about that. Right, Tony Demure, tell us all about yourself and why you are here.
Well, I'm not quite sure why I'm here. I mean, that's
Oh.
a kind of very cosmic, broad question, isn't it?
Well, I wasn't like you. Oh God.
I mean, we're always asking ourselves that one.
No.
But
Yeah, we're covering
They're
that in the
always-
second half of the show. Deep
Yeah.
existential crises.
Yeah, I think we could
Yeah.
do that, like they were doing a Good Morning Britain. Well, coming up after floaty summer fashions, it's why are we here and what's the point of life? We can cover that off. And here's Dr. Hilary Jones to talk about it, and the whole thing's done in 3 minutes.
yeah,
Right, Tony. So what's the story?
I'll do a potted biography.
Okie dokie.
I was, well, I still am a musician and a songwriter. I was in a band called Fabulous Poodles in the late 70s, early 80s. And
Remember them? Fabulous Poodles.
People nod their heads. They remember the name, but nobody actually remembers the band. We did quite well in America. We toured there. We opened for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. We
Wow.
opened for the Ramones, Jay Giles band.
No.
We did big club dates, and it was.
Did you ever meet Tom Petty? Did you?
Oh,
did you
of
speak
course.
to him?
We used to chat backstage before he went on.
Oh,
Apparently,
wow.
he was a lovely guy, from what I hear about Tom.
He was an absolutely marvelous guy, and I
Absolute
really
gem, yeah.
miss him. I really miss him. I mean, he's just one of those people.
Yeah, great
The
stuff.
reason I asked Tony, it's not quite such a dumb question as it might appear prima facie, is that a lot of support bands never ever get to meet the main act. They're kept separate, and sometimes they don't interact at all and have nothing to do with them.
That's true.
So it depends. It really depends on the personality of the main act.
And
Anyway.
also, as a support act, you have problems pulling in the audience sometimes. People go, "Oh, we will miss the support act, and we'll come on for the main act later."
Well-
But we were lucky because we had a lot of radio at the time, and so people knew our stuff. So we'd be playing to like 3/4 full hall, really, which was great.
I got to tell you, what Tony's saying is so true. When I made the enormous, life-changing, life-destroying mistake of going into the music industry, the worst thing I ever did, we would have
As
bios.
what were you doing?
Management. We managed a lot of
right.
a lot of acts. It was absolutely horrific, and I'm not talking about it because I would just leap off my balcony, quite frankly. And even to this day, it keeps me awake. Did you do a track called Vampire Rock? Asked Paul Claridge. Was that you?
We did, yeah.
Oh, there you go, Paul. You're absolutely
They
right.
drag it out every Halloween.
Yeah, of course. And what I was going to say, in the music industry, if there's a big act, you can do what they call a buy-on. So your act, which
Yeah.
can go on the tour. So we did Westlife. We did the Westlife tour. We did 32 main arenas around the UK, Northern Ireland, and everything like that. And we hardly ever saw them. And it cost a fortune. But as Tony says so rightly, if people say, "Well, we're staying in the bar because Westlife or
We
Tom Petty,
did
they're
the
not
No
on till
Life
9."
tour.
So
We
there
did the No Life tour. That was much more out by our street, or indeed our alleyway.
Indeed, yeah. You see, lovely Demise, you've caused the whole sensation with your beautiful setting.
No, you caused the sensation by accusing it of being an alleyway.
I accuse
There's no-
you
there's
of
no way
being
back
an
from it.
alleyway.
I tried to
why
help
am
by
I
using
here?
estate
Why
agent
am
terms
I
like
here?
beautifully appointed, but there's no way back, really, is there?
You're talking about Leslie, then, beautifully appointed, close to the shops. Now, Tony, sorry. So anyway, there you are in the Fabulous Poodles.
Yeah, and then we finished our second American tour. Then we had some dates lined up. This is when we actually had a really good live circuit in this country as well. Not just this country, Scotland, Wales, and you could play anywhere. You could play like 6-7 nights a week, and but it all started to get to me a bit. So I got, it sounds ridiculous, I got sick of playing to massive audiences because you feel like you're controlled. And we were playing, our biggest date was 80,000 people.
80?
80,000 people.
Jeez.
And it was kind of terrifying because I like to be able to kind of look the audience in the eye. And you can't really do that with so many eyes. So I kind of folded the band, and luckily I got involved in the nascent alternative comedy movement in the early 80s. And I just went along to the comic strip, and I saw Alexi and Rick and Aid and Jenny and Dawn,
when they were unknown and just starting off.
Totally, just out of college. And I loved it.
They were kids.
Yeah. And I just thought, this is great.
It's funny you say that. You brought up such an interesting memory. Like a gazillion years ago, I went with who's still my best pal, Lloyd Beanie, and Lloyd and I went off to, I can only apologize. And we went off to some charity. I don't know what the hell it was. And it was not the Hammersmith Odeon. I don't know where it was. It was one of the London venues, right? But it was a theatre. And no one had ever heard of the Dangerous Brothers, which was, of course, Rick Mail and Aid Edmondson. Then there was these two girls doing stand-up, and they really weren't good. That was French and Saunders. It was extraordinary. Alexi Sale, of course, who had polished his act quite a lot. And I've never forgotten Rick Mail, because we'd never seen him, we'd never heard of him. And it's interesting. Lloyd just come straight on and said, some used to call it the golden age of comedy. It was funny. It was funny. And because it was a kind of right-on charity, that Lloyd had dragged me along to, he comes on, he goes, my name's Vic, and I'm an angry poet. And I thought, oh, Christ, this is my idea of hell.
Kevin Turvey, that was his character's name.
Kevin Turvey. And he started doing this terrible poetry. And of course, everyone's sitting in dead silence because we're showing respect for this garbage. And then, thank God, some people started to laugh. And then the whole auditorium got permission to laugh. And we realized it was a routine. And then he started going, shut up, and all of that stuff. It was just brilliant. So funny because it came out of nowhere,
But anyway. I tell you what, Russ, I mean, people actually forget that a lot of the comedy in the early days was terrible because a lot of people thought it was enough to say anti-Tory things, but they forgot to write jokes in.
There was no, That's
and
why
it
I never
really
liked.
Was not good.
I never liked. I'm going to say it. I never liked Ben Elton. Great writer. Couldn't watch him. I'm sorry. I know he's a genius and a multimillionaire and so successful. I loved his scripts. Couldn't watch him. He got me crazy.
I have to say, this comment from Ramsey, did Tony ever go to Up the Creek, hosted by Malcolm Hardy? Malcolm Hardy was an absolute legend. You know the story about him, can I say this on Men's
I don't know how you can say this.
But it's okay. It's okay. As long as you don't.
Well, apparently somebody fell asleep and he did something unspeakable to that person.
The word urine comes to mind.
Oh, yes, that one. Yes, that one. And apparently the bloke was really pleased.
That's not funny. That's revolting.
Well, he was. He had no kind of stop-off point, Malcolm.
That was a brutal club, though, for the open spots. Seriously, when the 5-minute spot came on in Up the Creek, Malcolm Hardy would ring a bell and he'd go, "What time is it now?" And the crowd, they all knew. They went, "Dinner time!" And then they start chanting, "Bring on the Christians!" Seriously, and that's what the 5-minute open spot had to contend with. Brutal.
And he would also tell a terrible joke and he'd go, "Well, the next act told me that. Here he is." And he'd bring him on. And they were already booing him before he got up to the mic.
Yeah, legendary. People still talk about him today, even the comedians. He's a legend.
And he'd rip you off as well. I mean, we decide on a fee. And I said, "Look, I don't want to do Up the Creek. The last time it was bedlam. It was horrible." And he said, "Oh, it's all calmed down now." And I said, "Well, all right, but I'll do it for 150 quid. Well, I'll never pay 150 quid. I said, "Well, if you want me, you'll pay me 150 quid. This is 20 years ago." And he went, "All right." So I put it in my diary and I get there and I actually get an encore, which is very unusual.
Wow.
And I came off and he gives me 100 quid, And I said, no, this wasn't the deal, Malcolm, you know. And I had my diary there. I said, look, I put it in 100. Well, I've only got 100. Well, I said, well, find the other 50. I said, I'm sitting here on the stairs until you find it. And in the end, it's all a game with him. You know, he'd come along and he had it all the time and he'd give it to you and you go, thanks, bye. I mean, I still miss him, even though he was an absolute hound. You know,
I don't think we'd have lasted 3 seconds in the conversation, judging from this at all. Can we wish happy birthday to somebody who's absolutely delightful? Sue Sleet, via Bromley and Staples Corner, now near the coast in Fife in Scotland. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Sue.
And to celebrate your birthday, Sue, everyone's got a day off from work. It's fantastic because that is her influence. We come back to comedy in a sec. So anyway, Tony, this is more name dropping. I'm loving it. I'll be honest with you, absolutely loving all this. So,
well,
next?
Of course, I went on to work with Barry Cryer. I mean, this would have been our 20th anniversary, and we wrote together and performed together for nearly 20 years. And I have to say, I so miss Barry. I mean, he was so warm, and he was so supportive and creative, and it really was a joy working with him. And
what a lovely man.
Yeah, he was.
I met him, I think, twice. We had dinner once somewhere, and I was in awe of this man. He was one of my writing gods, a brilliant comedian, a wonderful writer, and so, as you say, the opposite of presumably of Malcolm Hardy, so encouraging to young talent and thoughtful and helpful.
I've only ever heard wonderful things about him.
He was that good and a genius writer. Oh my God.
He was, but I mean, I have to say, you know, if we had an Edinburgh show coming up, I'd be over his place in Hatch End. It was a fair old journey because I live in Tottenham, and it was a fair old journey. But I'd get there and it would take ages. He'd be coming out with stories about Arthur Askey and Ken Dodd and all these people I barely remembered. And I go, Barry, shut up. We've got to get down to do some writing here. And you go, all right, sorry.
What was Arthur Askey's thing? Lloyd, you'll know. What was it?
Playmates.
Hello, Playmates.
Hello, Playmates.
I thank y'all.
Hello, Playmates. God,
I thank y'all was another of his.
Oh, I thank y'all. Which I still use.
Well, you know what Barry said, that in a way, he was the first comedian to actually really use TV in a way that he didn't just stand there. He would he'd duck under the camera and he'd just come into view and he'd do a routine or whatever. And he was the first one to really do it.
I worked with Eric Sykes' daughter once. I was doing a gig actually, and it was a rap party for something she was working on. She was directing. I can't remember what it was, but then her dad turned up, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's Eric Sykes!"
Yeah.
And I was like, it was almost like a Wayne's World. We're not worthy, you know. It's like, genius. Oh my God, that is Eric Sykes. Wow.
Leslie, are there people? Eric Sykes would be one for me. There's certain people that go and say hello, and I go, I can't. It's so and so. I can't.
No, I know.
I'm tongue tied. You know, me. Who would that be for you, Leslie?
Oh God.
And don't say Neil Long because we're not going to just let you get away with it.
God, you know that Nigel Havers is my hero, but that's a whole other story, and I don't think I'd be tongue-tied.
Sorry.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound more than a little immodest, but my dad had lots of celebrity clients, so I was kind of used to them coming over and saying hello and stuff. One of the nicest, but I don't want to take away from everything Tony's saying, but one of the nicest, most charming, lovely men that ever came over was Roger Moore. He was such a darling.
Everybody loved him.
And I was I was much, much younger. I think I was about 13, and I was a little bit, oh my God, it's Ivanhoe.
The most handsome man on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, just ludicrously handsome and charming
Second
man.
most handsome man, I think you'll find.
Well,
Third. All right.
We've got breaking showbiz news coming in from NW Twee. and it's Lloyd Beanie, and I know this is actually true. It's not a gag. I washed Jimmy Tarbuck's hair. Does that count?
Well, if you're going to drop names, I once saw Des O'Connor in his dressing gown.
Steady.
Who?
Des O'Connor.
Bless
Des O'Connor at Thames TV Studios. He came out of his dressing room in his dressing gown. So there you go.
Did you know that he was hosting the last tour that Buddy Holly did, and Buddy Holly gave him his Stratocaster, which I believe he held to the end.
Buddy Holly's Stratocaster.
He gave it to Des O'Connor.
Oh, no way!
And I tell you what, because I'm a massive Buddy Holly fan. In fact, I played him in The Young Ones in the second episode of the first series. And I
remember that episode. It's just my buddy.
That's right, yeah. And I wrote and sang a song called "Cuckoo Daddy Longlegs," which I sang and played upside down from the ceiling of Mike's room.
That's it.
But it's anyway. The thing
is, the showbiz it's a showbiz day today because we're just kind of I'm easing off the brakes of mental health and well-being just for one show because it's Bank Holiday Monday and just making it a little bit lighter. And this came from Kerry Stoneman. I think it's going to be hard to top. I used to cut Norman Wisdom's hair and Lionel Blair's.
I've met Lionel Blair.
Panto with Lionel Blair top there.
Yeah.
Right. I'm absolutely loving that.
We had a family around here that would do one of these. Oh,
hang on. It's endless now. Coming in from Manhattan, I tempt for Brian Ricks. Did he have his trousers on? This is the thing. Was a vicar suddenly knocking on the door?
We had a family that would do these massive Christmas decorations every year and fundraise for charity, and they got Lionel Blair to go and open it. So I'm in their front room talking to Lionel Blair, and he was charming. Consummate professional, absolutely lovely man.
Everybody took
really warm.
I got to tell you something. Everybody took the piss out of Lionel Blair, but we did panto, and it was my first big panto. It was like a 2,000 seater. It was 2 shows a day. It took like 1.2 million at box office. These things. There was him, Rula Lenska, John Inman. It was all the gang, and I was a cheap date because I was the flying eye. So I just asked around, and there we go. And he was so nice to me. He was so encouraging, he was polite, totally professional. He wasn't young then, and the energy he put into it, bless him, Yeah. So he was always
that's what he was like when I met him. Absolutely professional, but charming.
Very, very nice.
Rare gems.
Now, Alan Samuels, he who sits having coffee on Mill Hill Broadway when I used to live there, says this. I'm a little late to the party, but Leslie's name on her video says Lovely Demisa. That is her official name. We like to call her Lovely Demisa. Because she is. Simple as that. Right, back to Tony Demure.
It might be worth mentioning that when I stopped doing the band thing and moved into comedy, I changed my name to Ronnie Golden because I thought Tony Demure sounded too much like a Vegas singer.
That was you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh dear.
I didn't realise that. Oh my God. Oh,
yeah, so I changed my name
Tony,
to that.
I'm such an idiot. I did not put 2 and 2 together. No. Of course, Ronnie Golden.
And I chose that name because it was a good kind of used car salesman name, which didn't sound so poncy as my real name.
Which is Tony Demure.
Tony Demure, yeah.
Yeah. Ronnie, of course it was. I'm so so sorry. I'm suffering from lack of sleep. But I did not put 2 and 2 together.
I'm the man with 2 names. I mean, it's really hard sometimes because I'm juggling a music career and a songwriting career as Tony Demure, and I wrote some songs for a movie and I'm credited under my real name. But then when I do shows with Barry or I do comedy shows, I'm Ronnie Golden. You can trust Ronnie. All right.
You sound like everyone I've ever met. Everyone who wants to pitch me some idea.
No, I'll tell you what. No, Russ, that's your name, isn't it? Russ, I'll tell you, I've got the act for you. Lovely boy. Lovely. Diamond.
He's young, but he's keen.
Always keen. Always. Russell Keane, you could call him.
And you want, listen to me, you want to get him while he's fresh. You want to get him because I tell you, he's going to blow up. It's going to blow up. It's going to be huge. You want to get him on the ground floor.
We'll get ugly.
If I had £1 for every conversation I sat through with that, I'd have a Maserati outside. Oh, wow.
Very good.
Dave Sleet is saying this. He says, The Man with Two Names. That's a great act title.
Ronnie Golden, the man with two names.
Anyway, right. So, oh God, I'm such an idiot not putting two and two together. Of course, what a blooming legend. Right. So, and that was hence Lloyd's on my golden age of comedy line, precisely so. So, which did you prefer, the music or the comedy?
Music. Yeah, I'm still obsessed by music. And I am obsessed by comedy as well. I still love writing jokes. I think the reason that Barry and I got on so well together was because we love jokes. And they're not really very cool these days. You know, everyone, you watch Ross Noble, who's a genius, and he'll go out and he'll riff for 2 hours.
But do you find him a genius? Does he make you laugh?
Yeah.
I know that Barry loved Ross Noble. He'd always praise him. And I've got to be honest, maybe I'm showing my ignorance. Maybe I'm showing my ignorance, Tony and the gang. But I watch it and I'm like, to do what you're doing is very, very clever. I'm not laughing. But I get it. It's brilliant and a gift. But you know,
I'm the same with Jimmy Carr. Actually, I sit there stony faced and go, "That was clever," but it wasn't very nice, but it was clever.
Do you think that's, Leslie? Do you think that's acceptable? This is a huge issue, especially with cancel culture and everything else. Do you think it's do you want comedians to be funny? Do you want them to be thought-provoking? Do you want them to push the boundaries, or you just want to have a night out and have a laugh?
I honestly, comedy is so much a matter of taste. I used to think that I didn't like slapstick, but when I see something that's beautifully timed slapstick, I'm in pain laughing.
Yeah.
So obviously I do like slapstick.
Done well.
It depends. Yeah. I think I don't like cruel comedy.
Yeah.
And I think cruel comedy, I used to laugh at all the old Les Dawson mother-in-law jokes because to me they really were funny. Whether now that I'm not woke, now that I'm a teeny little bit more woke, maybe they're great, but they don't really, because they were genuinely, for me, genuinely funny.
The other day, Leslie, I mentioned this on the show the other day, Russ and Tony, I saw Mike McCabe do the Frank Carson story. He used to work with him, and my God, he had him to a T. And just the way it was all set, just the whole way it was done, there's not time to describe how good it was, but he's doing the tour. I mean, I really recommend seeing it. But he was talking, then he did a Q&A afterwards as Mike McCabe, and he said, at some point, he was accused of being racist, but he was actually telling jokes about the ridiculousness of racism. But people were a bit dumb, and couldn't get that nuance.
Yeah.
And they just heard one trigger word and went, racist! And that's a bit of a problem nowadays. And he was saying the complete opposite. But I think comedy is brilliant for pushing through things like that. If you can make something look ridiculous and make people laugh at it, and then they can perhaps see the error in their thinking.
Absolutely.
And it can, maybe, for all I know, maybe things could change. I don't
Leslie,
know.
if you like Les Dawson, which I used to love Les Dawson, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
The wonderful John Coleshaw, who's so talented.
Oh, he's amazing.
He is doing a tour as Les Dawson. He's done a whole show. It's been written, which I think will be, I mean, John Coleshaw, A, incredibly charming, but B, talented off the face of the earth. I mean, just an amazing. It's Dave Sleet up in Fife says this, which is true. It's telling that dictators of all kind always shut down comedy, music, and art.
And we ask ourselves why, because they're, never a truer word said in jest springs to mind.
Yeah. And then from America, we've got this from Asa. Lovely. The reason I read these out, Tony, in case you think it's just filling up the time, it's because we are streaming live as well on Deluxe Radio. There's about 60, 70,000 people who are listening. So they don't see us, but they hear us. So therefore, they're missing the comments. Lovely, says Asa Don Brown from New York State. I wholeheartedly agree. Comedy is definitely a matter of taste. Like music, it really depends on my desires. I want to ask you all a question now, and then I've got a long piece here from Paul Claridge. Something blew up, and I'm going to start with Tony, because it's a kind of music thing, but it's also to do with how we are and our mental health and how angry everybody is. Yesterday on Twitter, the Twitter sphere, for no apparent reason, blew up on the following subject: Bruce Springsteen versus Kid Rock. Now, to just put some context into this, Bruce Springsteen and Kid Rock, have never had a confrontation. They've not criticized each other. There was nothing. So there wasn't the base of a story, if that makes sense. And it was Springsteen fans saying that Kid Rock was disgusting and awful and terrible. And then the Kid Rock fans, of which there are many, said Bruce Springsteen is un-American. He's just a liberal lackey, and he's not supportive of the United States. And it got incredibly heated. And I wrote, so I can just set out my stall, and I'd love to hear from all of you. I said, can we please just enjoy music? Do we have to politicize? Absolutely everything. I love Bruce Springsteen, seen him many times. I really like the music of Kid Rock. It's not for everybody. I happen to enjoy it. Yeah. All right. I also like Bobby Crush. I also like Frank Sinatra. I like Chet Baker. They're not political statements. It's just stuff I like to listen to. So, Tony, do you think we need now in 2020 this ridiculous? No, I'm weighing the question. Where do you stand on it? I'll say that.
Well, I mean, the unfortunate thing is that everyone has opinions, but now people are allowed to voice them, and they don't matter. It's like in the old days, it would be like, well, okay, that's your opinion. It's not mine. I don't like them, but I don't want to sort of close them down. I mean, I just don't like it, so I don't listen to it. It just seems so simple. I mean, certainly with music, everyone thinks that. Well, again, with comedy, you can say it with comedy because it's actually more subjective than music in lots of ways. I mean, I said this to Johnny Walker once. I did an interview with him, and he knew me as a musician from San Francisco, and he knew me as a comedian from London. And he said, "What's the difference?" And I said, "Well, the basic difference is if you play music and people turn up and they go, I don't really like this kind of music, but I tell you what, they do it really well. Whereas if you do comedy and they're not laughing, you're dead." Because they don't go, well, actually, he's got some good concepts, and but it doesn't really make me laugh. But they don't do that. They just go, crap. He's crap.
Yeah, they do. This is true. It's like Pink Floyd. I'm going to just come and say it. I don't like Pink Floyd. I've never liked Pink Floyd. I've never got it. I know I'm in a minority of one. Do I think they are brilliant musicians? Sensational musicians, apart from Roger Waters, who I loathe. Nick Mason, wonderful drummer. Gilmour, the rest of them, fantastic. So I admire all of that. Do I like what they do? No, but that's fine. I don't say they're no good. I just say it's not for me.
Yeah, there's many musical artists I think are incredibly talented, but do I personally like their music? Not really, but I can see the talent behind it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have to say I loved Pink Floyd when they had Syd Barrett in, because he brought in this kind of craziness. I've got a bike, you can ride it if you like. It's got a basket, a bell, and lots of things that make it look good. I give it to you if I could, but I borrowed it. You can't imagine Roger Waters coming out with a lyric like that.
No, because it doesn't criticize Jews. Anyway, so yes, I hate that guy. Absolutely, and Lloyd will join.
But you're right. The minute it gets politicized or anything, then the enjoyment goes out. I remember once I was doing a gig at a hotel. I had this whole long run of doing gigs for the Christmas period, and it was like those gigs where they get all different companies come together and share the room, and there's a DJ. And this black lady came up to me and she said, "There are black people here as well, And I thought about it, and I've been playing 40-60, 60-40 set, and I was really calm. I said, look, it's really for everyone to enjoy, but inside I'm thinking, wow. And the minute music becomes about a black versus white thing, and then I think is the day I would give up. It really saddened me. I mean, she said it to more than one person. I think it's her issue, and she obviously wasn't listening, because it was either 40% or 60% black versus white. But I wasn't thinking, I've got to play that. That's a black artist. Now I've got to play a white one to make it balanced.
No, you shouldn't have to do that.
Everyone. It's just bullshit. But the minute it becomes politicized or something like that, then the fun goes out of it, and then we get the woke and the PC brigade, and it just spoils it for everyone.
And the thing about it was, Neil, it's a party. It's not a political party. It's not a political rally.
Yes,
It's not
it's that's. Do
taking.
you know what?
It's a
If I
Christmas
ever meet her
party.
again, that's
for
what I will
God's sake.
say, Russ. It's a party, not a political party. Mike McCabe was talking about it the other day. He was talking about swearing. There's another one. It's I worked at a gold watch factory for years. Is the joke? And what do I get at the end of my 30 years? A gold watch. Isn't funny. What I get at the end of my 30 years? An effing gold watch. That is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. People go, oh, he said the F word. No, you don't get it.
It's the rhythm. It's the rhythm of it.
Yes.
Why am I
It's the
telling
rhythm,
Ronnie
it's the timing,
Gold
it's
this,
the
for God's
delivery,
sake?
the impact of it. And some people just hear trigger words and they go, oh, and then they take to Twitter. It just spoils it for everyone, in my opinion.
And also, you can use swear words as a kind of punctuation,
Yes.
and if you hold it back and you, like you're talking about, and you just bring it up at the very end, it explodes. Everyone will laugh because you haven't been swearing. I don't like comedians who swear all the time. I like it when they choose that 4-letter word and it works.
The right time.
Yeah.
I mean, even Michael McIntyre. Now I know people are very critical. He makes me laugh.
Oh, he's
Sue
brilliant.
me. You know, he makes me laugh, and I think people were just jealous because he's filling out arenas, and it's middle class, and it's kind of clean, and he works bloody hard at his craft, very hard. It doesn't come by accident, so it's a lot of jealousy involved by people.
He's actually the godson of Barry. He's Barry's godson. Yeah, his father, Barry and him used to write a lot of TV comedy together. They used to write on the Kenny Everett show.
That's right, because I read Michael McIntyre's autobiography.
Right, yeah.
Wasn't his dad involved in the Kenny Everett film Bloodbath at the House of Death?
Yes, which
and
I've never
was
seen.
So funny. That was Kenny Everett at his best.
Another
I loved it.
Charming man. Dave Sleet, the What About Me movement is a dictatorship of selfishness. Isn't that good? It is,
but can I just jump in here? Dave, is it your wife's birthday today? I think because we had a Sue Sleet, didn't we?
It's his mum's birthday.
Oh, it's his mum. Okay.
Yes, the very lovely Sue Sleet, who's so supportive of the station from day one.
Wow.
Just day one. No, this is coming back to comment. This is what Liz Saul is saying here, and I think this is a fair comment as well. It says this: people have always enjoyed and had different senses of humour. Personally, I don't like Frankie Boyle's comedy. I find it very aggressive, but it's not for me particularly. But hooted with laughter at Dave Allen as a kid. Dave Allen, genius.
Yeah.
Do you think it's an age thing,
I
Tony?
do quite like.
Do you think it's an age thing?
Yes, it is cruel, and I'm thinking, oh my god, how do you get away with that? But it's that little dark part of me that goes, go on, push it a bit further. But so I do quite like Frankie Boyle. I must admit. There you go, said it.
Well, I tell you what, on the early days of the alternative,
it is cruel though. There's no doubt about it.
On the early days of the alternative circuit, I mean, they were all young. I mean, Rick was 23, and he was a massive fan of Tommy Cooper. And he came, that time we were pretty close, and he came over to my place. He said, "Oh, we went to see Tommy Cooper last night up in Watford," and he said he's brilliant. And he has this great opening thing where he'd be announced, the lights would go, it would pitch black, and you'd hear this mic on. Oh, I suppose I ought to be getting on stage. Right, well, where's the light switch? Oh, sorry. Oh, I found the door. Oh, I'm in the wardrobe. It would go on for 10 minutes. And by the time the lights hit him as he comes on stage, everyone has already wet themselves. Yeah. He was brilliant. And I actually opened for Tommy Cooper for 2 nights at the Albany Empire in Deptford. And it was brilliant, but it was right towards the end. And some friends of mine said, could you get his autograph? So I knocked on his dressing room door, and a guy comes and says, yeah. I said, I was the opening act tonight. Is it all right to get a few autographs from Tommy? So he opened the door, and Tommy is stripped to the waist, and there is steam rising off of him. His head's down. And he very kindly signed these things. I walked out and I burst into tears because I knew he was dying. And a few months later, he was gone. It was very, very sad.
Was for I'm being a bit thick here. The steam was for what? For his bronchial tubes, or?
I'm not sure. I think it ended up being a heart thing because he actually. I was watching the YouTube thing of his final appearance, and he puts on this magician's gown, and he slumps over and falls on the side, and everyone's roaring with laughter because they think it's all,
because it's part. You think it's his shtick,
and then they drag him underneath the curtain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most undignified way
the
of going.
thing that everybody forgets is that after that, the show was being televised and it was live. Was it live at Her Majesty? It was live, and so they had to continue with the show.
Yeah,
knowing that one of the great comedy icons of all time of the UK had just literally dropped dead on stage, and the lovely Les Dennis and his then partner, who then subsequently died, Dustin G, had to go on. That takes some. That takes some balls
you
to
would just
do
dedicate
that
the rest of the show.
They
to
knew
he died. Go on and do your best. It's all you could do.
But you know what a position to be in for Les, and everyone always forgets that. You know, they always go, "Didn't Jimmy Tarbuck do great?" Well, he would have, because Lloyd had just washed his hair, obviously, and Tarbuck was comparing that night. But to have to follow and go, off you go, lads, and they were young. I mean, you know, Les Dennis, they were really, really young back then. God,
well, I heard a story about Leonard Rossiter. Right now, Leonard Rossiter was asked by Joe Alton back in the late 60s if he'd play Inspector Truscott in Loot in the West End. And he turned it down because I think he was probably only in his late 20s, early 30s, and he felt he was too young. So it got to the 80s and he thought, I'm the right age. So he played the character in it. And my friend went to see it one night, and he said it was the longest interval he'd ever seen in the theatre. And after about half an hour, 40 minutes, another Inspector Truscott comes on stage. There's no explanation, no nothing. Leonard Rossiter had died in the interval. I mean,
oh my God.
What would you feel like if you're in the audience? Like, what?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I went to see, well, one of my, I'm obsessed with drumming. I think you might know Tony, but I'm absolutely obsessed with it. And I finally got the chance to see Ginger Baker in a very small venue in town. Well, so I went with my young cousin Rory, because he's a drummer and he studied it professionally and everything. We got there early and I stood at the front. It was a really intimate venue. And I wish I'd never gone, because it probably was just about the last gig he ever did. I've never seen anyone look so ill, seriously, in my life. I thought he was going to literally die on stage. He could hardly talk, and he was taken off stage 3 times during the set, which was a very short set. His drumming was, and you're going to be angry with me. I mean, he's like one of my drumming gods. I could have done that. I actually could have, and I never say that. You know, I could have done what he did that evening. And then the set was completely cut short. And it was pitiful. It was horrible to see. And I wish I'd never gone. I want to think of him, you know, when you sat there with your jaw open thinking,
in his
wow.
heyday, yeah.
But you must have seen Beware Mr. Baker, the film.
Of course.
But he comes across
He had a
as such
reputation,
a horrible person.
He was a horrible person. I'll tell you something which will freak you out, Tony Demure. His family said, "Would you be his manager?" And I said, "No." I didn't even think about it before I said, "No, thank you." I said, "Why?" I said, "Because he's the most terrifying person I've ever seen, and I don't want my nose broken. Thank you very much."
Yes, I heard those stories too.
He was terrifying.
Awful man.
You know, a great music. And can you divide, Leslie, can you divide up someone that you know is a horrible person from their art? Like Ginger Baker, with the greatest respect to Nettie and all the rest of the family, was not a nice guy, but at its peak, a sort of unsurpassed musician, but a terrible, you know, angry, not nice man. Can you divide that up and still enjoy the art?
There was somebody, I could name her, she drank a lot of champagne, who I met when we were working at Capitol. And she was vile. But I could watch her perform on television and look at her and think, you are bloody good at what you do. I don't have to like you, though. She was...
Did she treat you horrible? I'm guessing I know exactly who it is. Did she treat you very bad? Did she treat you like dirt?
She treated everyone who wasn't, I suppose, what she equated with her level of fame, with complete disdain. She didn't treat me like dirt, but it was just like, I really wanted to give her a smack in the face.
I'm surprised you didn't, knowing you.
Oh, shush. Come on.
I'm intrigued to know who this was now.
Well, I'll tell you later. I know who it is. But British Airways.
Well, you don't necessarily, because let's face it, Russ, there were plenty of them that were not
loads.
nice.
But if this is someone who liked a lot of champagne, and I'm suspecting no longer with us,
Exactly.
British Airways crews dreaded this particular person coming on board because it was literally. There's no need to be like that. I met this particular person under social circumstances, and because I was there under twice, she was perfectly nice to me because suddenly he's invited here. He's not one of the waiters.
Yeah,
I'm just a guest, so that was okay. But I can well imagine. I mean, terrible reputation, great performer, great television personality, and did it immaculately.
I love that expression, champagne for my real friends, real pain for my sham friends.
Oh, that's good.
That's brilliant.
Not mine, I wish.
Oh, that is so good. Say that one again. That is
brilliant.
Champagne for my real friends, real pain for my sham friends.
God damn. Isn't that good?
God, I really want to nick that.
I'm sure it's generic. It's out there. You can have it.
It's really, really good.
Thank you.
You've been. Let me ask you this, Tony, because you've hung around. You've met some huge stars. And what I've never understood, and my view in life, it takes just as much time to be nice as it does to be horrible.
Yeah.
Everybody wants you to be horrible because they can scuttle back to their family and they can say, I met Fred Smith. God, what a bastard. He looked so nice on TV. No, he was a complete pig. You can just be nice. Why not be nice? I don't get it. Do you understand why people get like that?
It's always worked for me.
And there is a saying which I believe is true, which is the people with the most talent who've done really well are generally the nicest people. I take your point,
found this as well.
Leslie, but
in radio, I found that the bigger the station, the smaller the egos, and the converse was true as well. Because when I did hospital radio for 2 weeks before I walked out, and they wouldn't give me my own show, so I paid my 30p coffee bill and left. But the egos there were bigger than I've ever seen at Capital. It was really quite something. The smaller they are, the bigger the more puffery, if you like.
Yeah.
But the people who are true professionals and know it, they don't need that. They're too busy being brilliant at what they do.
And you find it on the comedy.
They're brilliant at what they do.
You find it on the comedy circuit. There's a lot of young comics out there, and you'll work with one, and he's dying on his ass, and then you hear later on that he's going, I was at that gig, I killed. Oh, it was brilliant.
I killed it.
It's like, what?
Well, it depends how you define killed it.
Well,
killed the audience with boredom and bad jokes. It's very interesting.
Shall I read this from Dave? Seeing our heroes in the decline or the reality of their offstage persona is heartbreaking. That's why there's a safety curtain at the theatre. Oh, nice. There's some good ones coming out today.
They're brilliant, and record numbers of you watching all over the world. And interestingly, that in radio, I started in 1984. Yes, I did.
Not 18.
October 84. And I've made so many lovely friends. And Leslie and Neil are two shining examples of people that I work with, like Leslie and I worked back then, and she left. And people have been very nice. I've only met, in all the hundreds and hundreds of people I've worked with on radio, and hundreds, I've met one person who was not nice. He went on to be a big TV star on the BBC. Wasn't nice and was trying to trip me up for no apparent reason. They were just nasty and insecure. But everybody else has been, it's a really interesting arena to be in. And also because it's actually very, very small. Everybody turns up. It just, it's the same sort of team. When I think about Phil Dave, we've worked at so many different stations together, and even now in his new role, and people are really very nice
Russ.
and welcoming.
It is very small, and the nice thing is, if you were nice to people when you meet them the second time round, and you will, it's a good relationship. So hello, and you look forward to working together again, and it's much nicer than going. you know,
As
I don't
Paul
want to use the word
Andrews says,
karma, but you kind of know what I mean.
it's the best advice you could give anybody in any industry. Be careful on the way up. It's because they're all waiting for you on the way down. And it's absolutely true.
Have you heard that song by Little Feat? Lowell George sings it. It's an Alan Toussaint song called, which is basically the same people you abuse on the way up, you're going to meet them on the way down. I check it out. It's such a brilliant song.
Little Feat are a great band, actually. I'll check that one out. What's the song called, Tony?
It's called On Your Way Down.
Thank you. I shall check that.
It's a great song.
Now, John Yates is saying that he could put what Tony said on a T-shirt. Brilliant. Well done. Well done. So what are you up to these days, Tony? It's been a wonderful kind of an exceptional chit-chat. What are you doing mainly now?
Well, I'm doing a couple of things. I'm not doing hardly any performing because they're really, A, there isn't the money there, and B, there isn't the work. A lot of comedy clubs have closed down, and so I tend to not do comedy. But I'm writing songs, and I'm co-writing a musical at the moment, which is called Unplugged, the musical. And it's basically set in a care home for old musicians, and I'm writing it with a friend of mine, Nick, who's like an award-winning American playwright who's great at structure, which I'm not. But we've got some really good songs in it, and it's about being old. And I don't think anyone's really faced up to that. It includes death, illness. It's got a lot of that stuff in it, but we face up to it, and I think people are going to like it. But we're basically doing it as a fringe show to see how it works, and then see if we can develop it.
I think that's great from a mental health point of view as well.
It's
the elephant in the room, isn't it? And to face this terrible spectre again through the medium of comedy, it kind of softens it, doesn't it? So I think it ticks all the boxes,
and music as well. And it's all original music. I'm sick to death of going to see a musical that's based on, like Jersey Boys, or where they try and crowbar a plot line.
They're jukebox musicals, aren't they?
I can't stand them. Yeah. It's like buy a collection. No one sings like Frankie Valli except Frankie Valli, who's a genius. He's a great singer.
I oddly enough don't mind. I don't mind them so much because part of it is lazy because you're thinking, well, we know all these songs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how the hell Ben Elton got away with "We Will Rock You"? A script that I'm not even going to go there, but fantastic tunes. I mean, just magnificent tunes and a huge hit. So, what do I know? It was gigantic.
Listen to the records. I think listen to the records. Why would you want to hear a bad version of the Four Seasons?
I'll tell you why. And this is my theory. Is because a lot of these people have passed or will not have retired. Tina Turner has retired. Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, you're not going to go and see them. Queen, obviously, you're not going to see them. So, you're going to see two of them, but that's it. So you won't have the shared experience. You can listen in your car and sing along, and you could dance around your kitchen and sing along, whatever you want to do. But you won't have that visceral shared experience of trying to recreate what it was like to see Queen or Tina Turner or whatever it is.
Even a party in the park where Five were on stage with Queen because they'd done a version of a Queen song. Was it "We Will Rock You"? I can't remember. It was "We Will Rock You," and there were 100,000 people doing that. Boom, boom, and even that brought a tear to my eye just watching two of the Queen members on stage with a boy band. I mean, that was so what the real thing was like originally. I never got to see Queen. I'd love to have seen them.
What see Queen? They were fabulous
in there with Freddie as lead singer. Sorry, lovely,
absolutely the best.
No, I was going to say I think you've hit on it with the shared experience because we've talked about this. I loathe the jukebox musicals. I just don't go and see them. But there's something about that shared experience in the theatre. Even if it's a crap play, you're sharing it with other people. And when we had COVID and all the theatres were shut, I joined the National Theatre at Home, which was broadcasting all sorts of things and things I'd missed and blah, blah. And I watched, and it wasn't the same at all. beautifully produced, but it wasn't a shared experience.
Mm.
And that is crucial. And right now, maybe we need stuff that actually brings us together.
I'll tell you something else as well. They used to do, and we're showing from the old Vic Hamlet or something on TV. They'd televise it. It was always, in just my opinion, okay, a disaster, because in theatre you're projecting. You haven't got a microphone. You can't do this, which I can do now. And so you see these people, and you think, this is so hammy. Why are they shouting at each other? It doesn't work in a televisual format. You need to be in the theatre with the proscenium march and all the rest of it. That's what you need.
And talking about shared experience and mental health, I've seen quite a few comedians talk about mental health struggles, but they've now created a show around it. And when people can sit in the audience and think, oh yeah, me too, me too, me too. There's one called Comedy for the Curious who's brilliant at doing that.
Say that again, Comedy for the
Curious. And it's kind of, it's mental health and positive psychology taught on stage, but she makes a real point as well. And it's partly teaching, but it's as funny as hell, and you can relate to it. Oh, I've had that experience too. So sort of blend mental health and that shared experience of comedy, and this is where some people are taking it, and it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. I've been fortunate, says Asa Don Brown, enough to be around a variety of musicians and other professional artists throughout my life. At the end of the day, a majority of them start following their personal passions, which I would encourage anyone to do as much as you can, in my humble opinion.
So here's another thing. Paul Andrews, who's very talented in his own right. Original material is, Leslie, would you like to read this?
Original material is always more fun. In recent years, for example, Springer, the opera, everyone's talking about Jamie, are far better than the jukebox musicals. I mean, Jerry Springer, the opera, was phenomenal when it came out. It was, because people recognized it from the show on television and all the rest of it, it was brilliant. Interestingly, everyone's talking about Jamie as a musical on stage, I thought was phenomenal. I think the film is not really anywhere near as good. I'm going to be polite. The film loses it completely. And again, it's that, I suppose it's the two-way street. You're the audience, they're the performers, you're there for each other. The film just lost that intimacy, I think, that one feels in the theatre.
It's when people feel a part of it, isn't it, Leslie? And they feel drawn in and a part of it, or possibly a poignant story that everyone can relate to. It's that relatability and that connection. Connection, I think, is the word, and that shared experience. You're right.
Also, connection is what we missed for a couple of years in many
2 years down the toilet, 2 lost years. And I used to say to Phil was then 33 at the time. And I said, you know what, Phil, it doesn't matter to you because you're so young. And please God, you've got your whole life ahead of you. You're 33 years old. You're younger than my kids, right? So 2 years to you, you can make that up. I look at it, I see the finish line, whether you like it or not. And 2 years bloody well matters to me, and I know it matters to so many of our audience all over the world. That's 2 years we won't get back.
Well, Barry Cryer's last
technology in that time, though.
I was going to say Barry Cryer's last 2 years. I really felt for him because he was stuck in his house, and he's the most sociable person, and he just missed all his friends, and now he's gone, and that was 2 years gone. But also, if I can just get on the point that Leslie was making, a comedy hero of mine was Max Wall. And I had the good fortune to see him in the 70s. And he really was, he reduced me to absolute tears because there was tragedy in his stuff as much as there was comedy. And he had this lovely sonorous voice. And I remember him saying at the end of the show, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. You know, tonight you have been 50%. I've been 50% and you've been 50%. And I thought that is exactly what it should be.
Nice, isn't it?
It's owning up the fact that it's without the audience, you don't exist.
Yeah,
and vice versa.
I think Linda Daves, who's Phil's mum, is because we're cozy here. We're cozy. But the jukebox musicals give you such a good feeling. I think if you just want to go out and not think I'm not being rude at all. And just have a good time and tap your feet and clap along. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Sure.
It's giving pleasure to lots and lots of people. You know, you can't really knock it. Not everybody's cup of tea. Yes, it's lazy, but there you are. We're out of time. Tony Demure, Ronnie Golden.
That went quick. Lovely to meet you, Tony.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you
Tony,
too. Pleasure.
come back. We've loved this, and I got to tell you, everyone around the world absolutely loved it. Lovely Demisa, always a pleasure. Neil Long, always a pleasure. Of course.
I'll see you Wednesday, Russ. Pleasure to be here. Enjoy your bank holiday. Lovely Demisa, lovely to see you as well.
And you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Have
Tony.
fun.
Thanks.
Enjoy what's left of the weekend.
Happy
Bye,
bank
everyone.
holiday.
Stay safe.